as I wrap up the story of David, I've got a few thoughts rattling around inside my skull, and I'd like to share those with you. First of all, my appreciation of David has soared. But at the same time, I've finally come to see him as a very flawed human being, just like all of us. He was God's man for a specific time in Israel's infancy. He was their warrior king. He was the one who established the nation. He was the one who defeated the Philistines. Never lost a battle to him that I've read about. He's wise in the ways of war and not so wise in the ways of other aspects of his life. Like everybody, David had a blind spot. And that blind spot was his family. His son Absalom wanted to kill him. The grandfather of his wife Bathsheba wanted to kill him because of what he had done to Bathsheba. And not only that, the tragedy of David's life. He lost at least 3 sons that I know of. Amnon, Absalom, and then of course he and Bathsheba's first child together. He had a daughter that was raped by her half-brother. He had Bathsheba's grandfather wanted to kill him, like I mentioned, because of what he had done to her. So he was surrounded by people that in his own family circle that wanted him dead. And let's not forget about the drama between him and Joab through his entire kingship. Joab was his nephew. Joab and Abishai were brothers, and they were the children of one of his sisters. And for some reason, David was afraid of them. I don't know if it's because physically he was afraid of them. I don't know. I really don't know. But it said in one point in Scripture that he was scared of them. And he tried to get rid of Joab, and it never took. David even replaced Joab after Absalom's death with Absalom's head general in a move that would make peace with the people who had sided with Absalom, and it worked. They came back to David. But Joab killed him because David gave him Joab's spot. And Joab was David's general till the day he died. And on his deathbed, he tells Absalom, don't let Joab go to his grave in peace. Basically telling his son Solomon to kill him because of what he did to me. He killed 2 of my generals in peacetime, not in war, in peacetime. See, Joab and his brothers were murderers. They were bullies. They were mean. They were vindictive. They were power hungry. They were power grabbing men. And they didn't try to become king. They tried to manipulate the king from behind the curtain, if you will. David went to his grave with many crushing familial defeats. Not many military ones. He was a military man to the nth degree. But his family was as messed up as a soup sandwich. And I grieve for David for a little bit, because as successful as he was as a military man in the eyes of the public, he was almost a total abject failure as a family man. He was a womanizer. He took advantage of Bathsheba. She did not take advantage of him. And then he had her husband murdered. No other word for it. In the area of his family, he was a mess. And yet, the Bible still calls him a man after God's own heart. Even in the midst of all this mess, he could still find himself returning to God for mercy grace, for fellowship. David was a complicated man with a complicated life. And he's no longer the mythological figure that I used to think of him as. I see him as a man who did what every man does. The best that he can do within the limits of his own personality, within the limits of his own sin, within the limits of his own understanding of what's going on around him. As a father, he did his best. Was it very good? Apparently not. But as a father myself, you do your best, and that's all that can be expected. So I see in David a hero, but a flawed hero. He wasn't this mythological superhero that I used to think of him as. He was a man who did the best he could and failed as gloriously as he succeeded. There's some other thoughts, I suppose, but I think I'm going to leave that there for the time being. I've had my mind stirred reading the story of David. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.